Welcome back to the Artisan Rooms YouTube channel with your friends Mike and Chris. This is the faux wood and stone master bathroom. This is actually the water closet of a much larger master bath. Client wanted a rustic, inspiring kind of look, so we decided to go with the wood grain motif of that handmade vanity you see there. So here's Mike starting to lay out the planks of wood.
We had an angled ceiling with multiple planes, and we had to do this wood graining in different directions. You can see Chris laying in the first glaze pattern, and he is doing a technique called flogging, in which you lay the brush on its side. It's a special brush called the flogger. And there he is. And if you look close, you can see the kind of pattern. It's kind of a natural pattern. This is a check roller, and you can see that it gives a kind of a lined pattern like oak. And then after that dries, we go on top of it with a slower drying glaze to do the first real long stroked grain pattern.
It's just so cool how just dragging a chip brush through that wet material, I mean, it looks exactly like wood grain.
You're kind of pushing the glaze. And since it dries a little bit slower, we don't want it to dry too slow because we don't want to wait too long. But if you mess up, you just brush it out and try again. And you want to really emulate real wood grain patterns.
So there you can see we've completed every other plank of wood. And then what we're going to do after we've finished those, the alternating planks, is we're going to pull the tape and then reapply tape on the inside of those planks so that we've isolated every other blank space. And then we're going to just repeat the process. Mike's checking it to make sure it's all perfectly straight and lined up with the first set of planks, and looks good.
Give me okay.
That's right.
So when you overlap the last plank of wood with your new one, you actually get a little bit of a dark line, which really isolates each plank of wood, which is nice. And then here we're doing long grain patterns.
Yeah, and Mike's got such a great knowledge of all the different species of wood and the patterns that they have.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, well, you're the man, Mike.
Whatever.
So now we're pulling the tape, and now you can see the effect. It just makes it look very realistic.
And how the grains are going in different directions, so you can see each individual plank is different.
Right. So then we're going to start now on the stone part of the bathroom, which is inspired by the stones that are on the exterior of the home. And again, we've got about 4 or 5 layers in this, just like we did with the wood.
Using a sea sponge, we put the first layer in, and now we're putting in some shadows. And you don't have to be careful. We drew the individual blocks in early with a pencil, but you can get right on top of that pencil and be messy with it. And you'll see why, is because right after we do this shadow technique, we're going to go in there and put the grout in and clean up all the edges of the stone.
Yeah, so here's, we went outside and matched the color to the grout that's on the outside of the house, and then that's me just kind of going around and defining the outside edges with the grout, and then Mike's laying in some highlights there.
And you kind of put the highlight on top of each shadow, and then Chris is laying in some shadow glaze here.
Yeah, and when you hit it with that sponge and just kind of soften it up, that's where it really jumps to life. It really pops right off of that wall.
So even the grout needs shading.
Yeah. And then this is the grand finale. This is Mike getting his trompe l'oeil on right here.
Doing a little bolt action.
Yeah. So you've got the bolts, and you've got the cracks in that beam right there to make it look even more realistic.
That's the ceiling of the shower there.
Yeah.
And you can just see how realistic it looks when the wood's going in different directions, the grain patterns go in different directions. It plays off nicely with the stone on the wall, and there's that vanity that inspired the whole thing.
Yeah, and even the vent there, that got faux. So here you see the final shots. What a fun project. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll get you a little notification every time we put up a new video.
Check us out on House. Check us out on Instagram.
And of course,
Twitter.
artisanrooms.com. See you next time.